What is up, everybody? John Hoover from the franchise. I'm coming to you here from the stadium. University of Oklahoma just beat the University of Houston 49-31. I'm going to go over a couple of notes, maybe give out some report cards, that kind of thing. It's a little post-game smorgasbord. I kept some notes during the game. I got some notes from after the game, some stats. Listen, first of all, 49-31, Sooners took care of business. They're 1-0. That's obviously the most important thing. Secondly, Jalen Hurts can play a little football. You know, I heard several times during the preseason, hey, he was the weakest link on that Alabama team. He was the worst player at his position on the football field when he took the field for Alabama. Well, guess what? He comes out tonight against Houston. I know, it's Houston, right? But he comes out tonight. And what does he do? He becomes the first player in school history to throw for over 300 yards, to rush for more than 150 yards, and to complete 80% of his passes. 150 yards rushing, 300 yards passing. He's the fourth player in the history of the Big 12 Conference to do that. Just ridiculous. Jalen Hurts was fantastic tonight, extremely efficient. I think his efficiency rating was 251 plus, which is just outside of OU's top 10 for a single game. Now consider all the guys who have been at OU, especially lately under Lincoln Riley. Kyler Murray nearly set the single season efficiency record last year. He finished second instead of setting the record. Kyler Murray finished second to Tua Tagovailoa, who's the one who took Jalen Hurts' job. Listen, if Jalen Hurts is the third most efficient quarterback behind Tua and Kyler, yeah, I could get behind that. Great game by Jalen tonight, 176 yards rushing. That's the second most yards rushing by an OU quarterback in history. I looked it up. Unbelievable statistics. Thomas Lott in 1976 rushed for 195 yards. That's the standard by which all OU quarterbacks, wishbone or otherwise, will be measured. 195 yards. Jalen tonight, 176. It's unbelievable. Secondly, and I think most obvious, is the defense. Outside of Jalen Hurts' performance, you know, everybody's eyes are on the quarterback. Take a look at the defense. They got after people tonight. They started out great, and I equated it to an adrenaline rush. They were getting after the quarterback. They were smashing guys at the line of scrimmage. First two drives, they had 4 tackles for loss, five negative plays in all. And what I said before the game was it would be a number that I pulled, arbitrary, but I pulled it out of the air. 11 tackles for loss. They ended up with, I think, 8 tackles for loss. So they finally caught, but it took them a while. Once Houston figured it out, I talked to Ronnie Perkins after the game. He said, yeah, there was a little bit of that adrenaline come down, but mostly it was Houston making adjustments.6Houston, by the way, coached by a guy by the name of Dana Holgorsen, pretty good offensive coach. So they made some adjustments. Houston did. D'Eriq King, he's got his 3 leading receivers back from 2018. All those guys are back. They got a decent offensive line. They got some talent at running back. Of course, Houston is going to be able to get off and get going. D'Eriq King finally did, but for most of the first half, he had a big fat 0 passing yards. 0. Consider that. And what's to consider is Oklahoma was the worst pass defense in all of college football last year. Number 129 out of 129. And the Sooners had allowed 0 passing yards. Again, 0 passing yards through most of the first half. Eventually, again, Houston did get some things going. They busted a couple of long plays, a handful of long plays. Alex Grinch said in the postgame that he wants to see a little bit better attention to detail, although he said he was pleased, and this was in direct response to my question about how did the guys, when there was some adversity, when there were some bad things that happened, how did they respond? He said he thought they responded very well, so he's pleased with that. Lincoln Riley said it's going to be a process. The progress is going to continue. Can't build Rome in a day, obviously. But a couple of notes I wanted to get to that I took during the game. Obviously, the first one for me, and I asked Lincoln Riley this question in the post-game press conference. How do you feel about kicking? How do you feel about place kicking? The Sooners missed 2 field goals tonight. Caleb Sutherland, first time out there, first time to do what he's doing, on the big stage, of course, in this stage. He missed a 49-yarder, and then he missed a 36-yarder. I think both were wide right. He got plenty of stroke on the 49-yarder, but Lincoln Riley said, listen, that was my fault. Running a guy out there to make his first collegiate kick from 49 yards, he said he called it stupid. Lincoln Riley himself called his decision to put Caleb Sutherland out there. He said it was stupid. And he said that Sutherland's going to be fine. He said there's nothing to worry about. He likes the progress. And he also said on kickoffs, Gabe Burkich had a little case of the nerves early on. But as you can see, a few more touchbacks later in the game, he settled in. Kickoffs became great. So I thought there might be some concern when your field goal kicker, you don't know who it is. You're replacing the most prolific kicker and really and truly in NCAA history. And a lot of that's extra points, and credit not the kicker necessarily for kicking extra points, but credit the offensive coordinator and the head coach for getting you into the end zone. But still, I mean, Austin Seibert was the most prolific kick scorer in NCAA history. So to replace that guy who did both jobs, both kicking, kickoffs, and punts for 4 years, with a first-time guy and his first kick again, 49 yards, a lot of pressure. He missed it. He missed it wide right. So Lincoln Riley said he doesn't think that's going to be an issue going forward. He believes in him. He's going to continue to roll him out there, Caleb Sutherland, as the kicker. Another one. I tell you what, I think the offensive line is going to be fine. What I saw tonight did not remind me of the 2 games that I saw, not even close, of the 2 previous seasons during the Bob Stoops era when OU had to replace 4 starting offensive linemen. Okay, stay with me here. In 2005, they replaced 4 offensive linemen who were in the national championship game the year before, that great 2004 season, lost to USC, remember, in the Orange Bowl. Well, they replaced 4 offensive linemen on that team in 2005. And as you remember, Sooner fans, 2005 was a disaster for the most part. Again, they finished whatever it was, 8-5, but it was Stoops' worst season since his first season, which of course, first season replacing the John Blake era, you'd throw that out. That 7-5 was a great thing. But replacing those 4 offensive linemen in 2005 was a disaster for the rest of the offense. Rhett Bomar, Paul Thompson, all those guys, they couldn't figure out what to do. The blocking was atrocious. It really set things back for most of that year. Remember, I think they started 2-3 that season. Well, spin it forward 5 years. In the 2009 season, I guess 4 years, the 2009 season, again, the team's coming off that NCAA national championship, BCS national championship game, the Orange Bowl, again, this time a loss to Florida. They're replacing 4 starters again. What happened? Colby Clausen and the BYU Cougars got after Sam Bradford down in Jerry World. They opened up Jerry World by sacking Sam Bradford on virtually every play. He never got going. Sam eventually hurt his shoulder, hurt it again. Season was a disaster. Here's the difference. I didn't see any of that. Not that Houston is on the level of that 2005 TCU team, and not that Houston is on the level of that 2009 BYU team. They're not. They're not as good, especially defensively. But Bill Bedenbaugh coaches this offensive line. No disrespect to Kevin Wilson, no disrespect to James Patton, who were the offensive line coaches at the time, but Bill Bedenbaugh is widely regarded as the best offensive line coach in the country for a reason. He went through preseason training camp. We did see some protection issues out here tonight, particularly on the left side of the line. They ran a couple of guys out there, R.J. Proctor and Eric Swinson. I think both guys were okay. I think if this had been a 2005 TCU defense or a 2009 BYU defense, some other things might have cropped up. But I think for the most part, okay, not get putting the cart in front of the horse here, I do think that Houston tonight, and the way they played defense, they were a little out of their league. They were a little overmatched. But for the most part, again, Oklahoma's offensive line, 354 yards rushing, averaged 9.6 yards per rush, okay, and 332 yards passing. Jalen Hurts, again, did what he wanted to running the football, did what he wanted to passing the football. Only had 3 incompletions. He was 20 of 23. So there were some protection issues that cropped up from time to time. I don't think it's a big thing. The offensive line from this point is going to continue to get better. Another point I wanted to go over, Alex Grinch and his defense, we touched on it in the top, but I think the effort's there. I don't think there's any doubt. The effort's there. You saw Kenneth Murray tonight looking like he was trying to kill somebody. He was trying to separate De'Aaron King's head from his body. That's the way you play defense. That's the way that Oklahoma linebackers have played defense for the last 40 or 50 or 60 years. They hit people and they take them down. They don't, and they chase them and they pursue them and they get them to the ground. They don't jog up and hope they're in the right gap and then hope the guy runs into them. That's what we've been seeing a lot of the last couple of years, last 3, 4, 5 years even. the adrenaline thing, again, I do think that Oklahoma got going early defensively. I think it wore off a little bit, and the adjustments that Dana Holgorsen and his staff made eventually got to where, remember, this was a 24, I think this game opened at a 26-point line, got down to 24. Oklahoma only won by 18 tonight, so Lincoln Riley expressed very clearly this was a win, so therefore it was a good win. It wasn't the best win. It wasn't a complete blowout. It wasn't 70-3 or anything like that, but it was a win, and he said the day that he stops enjoying the win is the day that he retires from coaching. Another one I wanted to get to, Ronnie Perkins was great. LaRon Stokes was great. Jalen Redmond was great. Those guys got after. They generated pressure on the quarterback. They finished with 3 quarterback sacks. And at times, they were doing it with just 3 guys. They were dropping 8. Sooners were dropping 8. They were getting after the quarterback, creating pressure, collapsing the pocket, closing down the passing lanes with just 3 guys. Now listen, the 3 guys that they had out there were good players. I mean, what we saw tonight out of Neville Gallimore, who was elected captain earlier this week, Neville Gallimore looked fantastic. He was chasing guys. He was chasing them down. He looks quicker, svelte. He's slimmer, trimmed down, gets after people in a much more aggressive, much more assertive way. And I think part of that is the scheme. A large part is the scheme. And what we're talking about here is the 2-gap scheme versus the 1-gap scheme. He's now responsible for 1 gap, which is the gap between these 2 guys. Previously, he was responsible for 2 gaps, which was a gap here and a gap here on both sides of any given player. That's a lot to ask. That's why Neville was 335 pounds. That's why he was slow. That's why he looked out of shape at times and got tired, got worn down. Well, now he's 301, 302 in that area, and he's knifing through the defense and creating havoc. And I think you could ask D'Eriq King tonight, hey, what did you think of Neville Gallimore? What did he have for lunch today? Because you could probably smell his breath. Neville Gallimore was all over the quarterback early on. Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks were good tonight. Not elite, not great. I think Sermon had 91 yards and Kennedy Brooks got 4 carries, I think all in the second half, finished with 46 yards. He had a couple of nice runs, but both guys I thought looked strong and effective. It's just that tonight, on this night, against Houston, against his hometown team, Jalen Hurts is the one who stole the show, especially in the running game. Oh yeah, Charleston Rambo, fast. Boy, that guy looks fast. He got loose on a long one tonight, 56 yards, 3 catches for 105 and a touchdown for him. And then you saw early in the game, you saw CeeDee Lamb break free. And this was, to me, the play of the game, especially for Jalen Hurts. Hurts breaks containment. Not containment. He steps up in the pocket, looks like he's going to take off running. He stops his feet, plants and throws. It looked like that touchdown Kyler Murray threw to Charleston Rambo last year in the Orange Bowl. This one was from Hurts to CeeDee Lamb. I think that's something that's going to, at this point, moving forward, scare the heck out of defensive coordinators, defensive backs throughout the Big 12 Conference. And then the last point I want to touch on, Jalen Hurts passed the ball tonight to 10 different receivers. The leading receiver for Oklahoma, okay, they had 332 receiving yards. The leading receiver had 3 catches. 10 different guys caught balls tonight. What that tells me is Jalen Hurts, my presumption before the game was that he was going to have a favorite. He was going to throw the ball to Grant Calcaterra a lot, or CeeDee Lamb a lot, or Nick Basquin a lot, or Lee Morris a lot, and he didn't. He threw 23 passes, 10 different receivers. He's spreading it around. What's that an indicator of? Indicates to me that he knows the offense. And that was, to me, the number one worry, that he would come into Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley's offense. Think about it, his 5th offensive coordinator and his 5th quarterback coach in 4 years of college football. He would come in and be a little bit out of his element. He might not be able to process things, but watching Jalen Hurts process this game, watching him deliver the football on time, in stride to receivers who were both open and covered, very impressive night. That's all we're going to do tonight. 49-31 Sooners win. We will talk to you guys Monday night after the franchise drive. So looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. See you guys.